Good morning, Europe. It is Wednesday, the 31st of August. I'm Helena Humphrey, and here are your top stories.
The Soviet Union's last leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, has died at age 91. He is known for the extraordinary reforms that led to the end of the Cold War. In 1990, he won a Nobel Peace Prize for that role and spent his later years collecting accolades and awards from all corners of the world. Yet he was widely despised at home. Russians blamed him for the 1991 implosion of the Soviet Union. The hospital in Moscow where he died said he had been suffering from a long and serious illness.
To the West, a statesman and a star. To Russia, a figure of controversy. A man who came from the Russian steppes and who would change the world. His friends and companions described him as ambitious, hard-working, charismatic and kind. As he moved up the ranks in the Communist Party, he grew more and more frustrated with a system that made improvement impossible. Once head of the Soviet Union, he launched the perestroika, which means restructuring, and glasnost, transparency. But in 1986, following the nuclear disaster in Chernobyl, there was no sign of transparency. Information was withheld and then misrepresented. Gorbachev only addressed the people 19 days after the accident, saying authorities had been afraid of panic and admitting his mistake. After that, Gorbachev was more determined than ever to implement his reforms. In 1987, he signed with US President Ronald Reagan a treaty banning intermediate-range nuclear missiles. Gorbachev and Reagan both wanted change, and their friendship ultimately helped thaw the Cold War. Gorbachev had unleashed forces that he chose not to check. When, after months of protest, the Berlin Wall came down in 1989, he didn't intervene, and in doing so avoided a bloodbath. But his permissiveness didn't extend to the Baltic states. In January 1991, Lithuania's bid for independence was suppressed by Soviet troops. In the clashes, 13 civilians died. In August of that year, hardline members in the Communist Party opposed to Gorbachev's reforms attempted a military coup. They were defeated in Moscow by civilian resistance, led by Boris Yeltsin. Gorbachev, who had been held at his home in Crimea, lost his authority. He resigned in December 1991, and a few days later, the Soviet Union officially ceased to exist. Gorbachev would be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize and will be remembered as the man whose reforms hastened the end of the Soviet Union and brought the Cold War to a peaceful end. His own assessment of his career? Some people see me as a soft man, he said. But isn't it interesting that such a soft man changed so much in the space of 6 years? I made the right choices. If I were to return in time, I would make the same choices, but I wouldn't make the same mistakes.
Since the death of Mikhail Gorbachev on Tuesday, tributes from across the world have come flooding in for the last leader of the Soviet Union who changed global politics. On Twitter, President of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, called him a trusted and respected leader. UN Chief Antonio Guterres added that he changed the course of history. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson praised his courage and integrity in bringing the Cold War to a peaceful conclusion. And France's Emmanuel Macron hailed Gorbachev as a man of peace.
When the world saw conflict and stalemate, he saw peace and possibility. He was the epitome of courage and vision, and he was a reminder that it takes more courage to end a war than to start one.
The Australian Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, summed up what many are surely thinking, comparing Gorbachev's legacy to the situation Russia currently finds itself in. Critical infrastructure damaged beyond repair, homes destroyed, leaving millions without a place to go, and entire villages surrounded by water. The devastation Pakistan's record-breaking monsoons has caused unimaginable misery. A constant stream of helicopters are trying to reach the many in need, but relief efforts continue to be hampered by lack of access to remote areas and the sheer number of those needing help. The death toll is already high and is expected to rise, and across the globe, blame is being put on climate change.
The climate catastrophe has killed more than 1,000 people, with many more injured. Millions are homeless, schools and health facilities have been destroyed, livelihoods are shattered, critical infrastructure wiped out, and people's hopes and dreams have washed away.
The UN has appealed for over €160 million in urgent aid, and its Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, will visit the country next week. The rains have destroyed or severely damaged more than 1 million homes, affecting 1 in 7 of Pakistan's population, around 33 million.
Deadly fighting in Iraq's capital appears to have subsided after the figure at the centre of the crisis told his supporters to end their protests. Hundreds of people withdrew from the city's green zone. They had been gathering there for weeks after powerful cleric Muqtada al-Sadr announced his retirement from politics. At least 30 people were killed in the clashes. The leader told his followers their actions were not revolutionary, and the spilling of Iraqi blood was forbidden. The fighting between rival factions of Iraq's Shiite majority followed 10 months of political deadlock since the country's parliamentary election.
Holding new early elections in accordance with a national consensus represents an exit from the stifling crisis instead of political, confrontational quarrels.
At least 300 people were injured, as friends and family mourn the lives lost in the worst violence Baghdad has seen in years.
You will be safe under my watch. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky assured the team of monitors from the International Atomic Energy Agency that they would be guarded through Ukrainian-controlled territory. He added,
"We trust your experts. We would like to not only have checks, because checks are something tactical, but there are also strategic decisions. The nuclear plant is in Ukrainian territory and is Ukrainian property.
The mission comes after months of arduous negotiations and accusations of attacks on the plant by both sides. Nevertheless, Moscow welcomed the investigation.
We hope that this mission will take place as agreed and stipulated. I repeat it once again, we are interested in this mission and have been waiting for it for a long time.
The possibility of something going wrong at Zaporizhzhia has worried European leaders.
There is a nuclear gambling in the nuclear power station. Zaporizhzhia is something very dangerous, so the situation in the ground continues being very bad.
Inspecting a nuclear plant littered with holes and bomb fragments will be novel for most of the inspectors. It's now hoped that the possibilities of an accident will be significantly reduced.